Good evening. Welcome to the April 8th, 2019 Troy City Council meeting. We are pleased this evening to have Reverend Jasmine Smart from First Presbyterian Church of Troy to lead us with the invocation. So please rise for that and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend?
Thank you. It's a privilege to be with you all on this warm spring night. So let us join in a spirit of prayer. Everlasting God of love, in whom we live and move and have our being, we thank you for the gift of life across the generations. With the very breath in our lungs, we long to serve you. Give us clear minds and compassionate hearts as we come together to conduct the business before us this evening. Fill us with your wisdom and discernment. Help us hear all voices in this community so that our neighbors can live in peace and harmony with one another. We are grateful to you for the blessing of all the city staff and first responders as they serve this community. We ask that you bless those who make sacrifices for the sake of others, and may your love inspire us to do the same. Grant us, Lord God, the fullness of your promises. When we have been weak, grant us your strength. When we have been confused, grant us your guidance. When we have been distraught, grant us your comfort. Where we have been dead, grant us your life. May your Spirit fill this place, convicting us, converting us, and consecrating us so that we can be your servants in the world. We pray all these things through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with God our Father and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for those words, Reverend. Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. The roll call, Ms. Dixon.
Mayor Slater?
Here.
Councilmember Abraham?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Baker? Councilmember Hamilton?
Here.
Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Here.
Councilmember Pennington?
Here.
I did receive correspondence from Mayor Pro Tem Baker that he would be out of the county this evening, so I will move to excuse the absence of Mayor Pro Tem Baker at the regular City Council meeting of April the 8th, 2019, due to being out of the county.
Support.
Moved by the chair and supported by Councilman Pennington that we excuse the absence of Mayor Pro Tem Baker at the regular City Council meeting of April 8th, 2019, due to being out of the county. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
He would have said yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion passes. First on the agenda are certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have three good ones this evening. C1 is a proclamation in recognition of Athens High School 2018-2019 Student Council. And I'm not going to tell how much they raised this year until we read the proclamation. So if I could ask Advisor Sean Dufresne and the Student Council from Athens High School to come forward to the podium, I'd like to present you with a proclamation. I was going to introduce every student here, but we have a few too many this evening. Come on, squeeze in here and get in the picture. You want to come up here with me? Maddie?
Yes.
What's your last name?
Purvis.
Maddie Purvis?
Mm-hmm.
You're the president?
Yeah.
Aren't Aren't you excited to be the president? Maddie, on behalf of the Troy City Council and the City of Troy, I'd like to present this proclamation in recognition of Athens High School 2018-2019 Student Council. And I'd like to read this proclamation into the record and present it to you. Is that good? Mm-hmm. Are you going to talk after this?
Sure.
Okay. Whereas the Athens High School Student Council is a very active and dedicated group of 54 students and 2 advisors, committed to giving back to their community as well as the region. And whereas each year the Athens High School Student Council puts in countless hours as well as blood, sweat, and tears to help raise money for a charity of their choice during Charity Week. And whereas the Athens High School Student Council selected Focus Detroit, a nonprofit organization that partners with schools and communities to combat poor academic achievement, under-resourced schools, substandard housing, and lack of access to basic needs. And whereas this year the Athens High Student Council gave back in a way that many teens and even most adults could not do by organizing a full week of activities, including, listen to this, carnival night, ice skating, jail and bail, belly flop contest. Who did that? A students versus staff dance-off. That must have been something. Hypnosis show, pancake breakfast, penny wars, film festival, parent cook-off, restaurant nights, volleyball tournament, Mr. Athens pageant. Is he here? No. T-shirt sales, dance, pep rally, a euchre tournament for parents, and an Espresso Yourself talent show. And whereas Athens High School Student Council raised $130,035.71 this year for Focus Detroit. Let's give them a round of applause. The students raised a record $148,813.77 last year for Detroit Street Care, and their best ever record of $155,416.35 in 2017 for the GenaCast Believe in Miracles Foundation. They also raised more than $84,100 in 2016 for the Joan Rose Foundation, $57,000 in 2015 for Wish Upon a Teen, $56,000 in 2014 for Desert Angels, more than $40,800 in 2013 for Angels of Hope, more than $35,000 in 2012 for I've Got Your Back, and $34,000 in 2011 in Believe in Miracles. So if you add it all up, that's a lot of money that these kids have done for this region. Another round of applause for them. So whereas the Student Council generates excitement throughout the school's 1,600 students as well as within the community, council meetings take place prior to school starting. And after a full day of classes, members stay after school to count pennies, sell shirts, run the events, and then go home and complete their homework. There's not a lot of sleep for student council members during Charity Week. And whereas students find out how much money they raised at a Friday pep rally assembly and then celebrate their accomplishment with a final fundraiser dance that evening. Now therefore be it resolved that the Troy City Council extends special recognition to the Athens High School Student Council for their selfless and tireless service and dedication to so many worthwhile organizations over the years. And be it further resolved that the Troy City Council and all of the Troy residents congratulate Athens High Student Council for being a shining example of how to give back to your community as well as the region. And we, of course, wish the Athens High School students continued success in all future endeavors. This is presented the 8th day of April 2019, signed by myself, all members of City Council. Congratulations, students. Thank you for what you do to represent our community. Well done.
Thank you.
We're going to get all the council up. Turn around. We're going to get some pictures.
Yeah, we'll have the kids in the front. You guys move up here. Keep going, keep going. You come in with them, we're going to get behind.
I'm used to being in.
The mayor would go that way. There.
We good? All right.
Okay. So, yeah, we definitely work really hard for this week, and it's something we're super proud to be a part of, and something we're super proud to have our name tied to. But something we dedicate like a lot of our success to is the Troy community getting involved. So. We're just super lucky to be in this city where we have so much parent involvement, and even if like students don't have parents that have a student at our school, they still get involved. So that's something that we're really thankful for, and something that we can dedicate the Troy community to helping us with that. So just thank you. If you guys have ever gotten involved or even like set your best wishes towards us during this week, it's super helpful, and we appreciate you all.
Thank you. Best part about being mayor and being on the city council is that you get to recognize the great youth that we have in our community, and what they do for our community is just outstanding. C2, this is hard to follow, but this is also a very important proclamation, and I'd like to read this proclamation recognizing Childhood Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, and ask Chad Ozias, Care House Director of Philanthropy, to come up here. How are you? Good. Thanks for what you do. Sometimes this is a hard one to get through. It's kind of amazing what goes on in the community that many people don't even know. So on behalf of the Troy City Council and the City of Troy, I'd like to present this proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month for April 2019. Whereas abuse and neglect are suffered by children in our communities, regardless of age, race, gender, or economic situation. Whereas 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. This reported maltreatment is only a portion of the overall problem threatening our children. For so many cases go unreported, and today's technology has brought with it a new and dangerous form of child endangerment, the online predator. And whereas the devastating consequences of physical and emotional abuse to our children affects the community as a whole, and finding solutions needs to be attended to by the community as a whole. The state of Michigan has mandatory reporting by professionals working with children of any suspected abuse or neglect incidences, which is a major step, but more is needed in the community. And whereas Care House of Oakland County works to break the cycle of child abuse and neglect, provides a protective circle of light and hope for a better life, and advocates for the safety and protection of our children. And whereas Care House of Oakland County partners with community organizations and agencies to offer programs and services aimed at preventing child abuse and neglect, knowing that effective programs succeed because of the involvement and partnerships created among schools, social service agencies, religious and civic organizations, the business community, and law enforcement agencies. So now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of Troy know that children deserve to grow and thrive in an environment that nurtures and keeps them safe. And hereby proclaim the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. And be it further resolved that the city of Troy will hold a special drive during the month of April to collect stuffed animals, toys, baby items, and school supplies for Care House of Oakland County, and invite our community to donate to this very worthwhile organization. And be it further resolved that we invite all Troy residents, community partners, and businesses to increase their participation in Care House of Oakland County's efforts to prevent abuse of our children and thereby strengthening and protecting our community in which we live. Signed this and presented this 8th day of April 2019. Chad, thank you so much for what you do for our community. It's signed by myself, all members of City Council. Thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to the council and Mayor Slater for this proclamation. So I hate to be a downer because of the great fundraising efforts that the council, the student council, was able to raise. It's an incredible dollar amount. I know we worked with another local high school last year, and they said, well, Athens they're like where we want to get to. We're not even close yet, but But if you think about the number of kids that were standing up here, statistically, 2 of those kids have been abused or would have been abused before they reached the age of 18. So people want to know what they can do to help, right? So come to a Care House tour, learn more about the work that we're doing, learn about the work that we're doing with CPS, with law enforcement. We have dedicated detectives from the city of Troy that are at our building quite often. I'm a Troy resident, so when I see those cars, it's kind of makes me feel good that we're finding the people that are doing these things and stopping them, but it also makes me feel bad that this is happening where I live. But the one thing that we know about change in any area of any aspect of life is when people talk about things, change happens. So if we bring this conversation about abuse and how we're going to stop it in the ways that we can, educate the community, educate parents, educate kids, professionals that are mandated by law to report so that they know the signs and symptoms of abuse, and providing kids with the language that they need to prevent abuse from happening when somebody is attempting to perpetrate on them. So if we can bring that conversation into the community and really make that a priority, I think that we can lower those statistics drastically. So thank you very much for your efforts and for the City of Troy and helping us to raise awareness and taking up a collection for us this month and helping us to continue to fight for the kids in our community.
Thanks again, Sean. C3 is a proclamation celebrating National Library Month, April 2019, and I see that Library Director Kathy Russ is coming forward. I'd like to present a proclamation recognizing National Library Month. Hi, nice to see you.
Flattered to be in such good company.
I know, isn't it? This is pretty cool too, though, right?
I think so.
So, on behalf of the City Council and the City of Troy, I'd like to present this proclamation celebrating National Library Month, April 2019. Like we didn't know all this stuff. Whereas libraries today are more than repositories for books and other resources, often the heart of their community, which is true in Troy. Campuses or schools, libraries are deeply committed to the places their patrons live, work, and study. And whereas libraries are trusted places where everyone in the community can gather to connect and reconnect and re-engage with each other to enrich and shape the community and address local issues. And whereas librarians work to meet the changing needs of their communities, including providing resources for everyone and bringing services outside the library walls. And whereas libraries and librarians have a powerful and positive impact on the lives of Americans on a daily basis. They bring together community members to enrich and shape the community and address local issues. Librarians are trained, tech-savvy professionals, providing technology training and access to downloadable content like ebooks. And whereas libraries offer programs to meet community needs, providing residents with resume writing classes, 24/7 homework help, and financial planning services to teens applying for student loans and for older adults planning their retirement. And whereas libraries continuously grow and evolve in how they provide for the needs of every member of their communities. And whereas libraries, librarians, library staff, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Month in April, and the Troy Public Library will be celebrating with a number of special and unique programs for all ages. So now therefore be it resolved that the Troy City Council proclaims the month of April as National Library Month in the City of Troy with the theme, Libraries Equal Strong Communities. And be it further resolved that the Troy City Council encourages all residents to visit the Troy Public Library this month to take advantage of the wonderful resources and programs available and to celebrate the contributions of our nation's libraries and library workers and promote library use and support. Presented this 8th day of April 2019, signed again by myself, all members of City Council. Kathy, congratulations to your team and National Library Month of April 2019.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Slater, and thank you to all members of City Council. This means a lot to us. And for those of you who have not ever been to the library, it's a great time to visit us. We're really loud this week. You don't have to worry about being quiet because we're having a party. But if you haven't come out, I'd really like to invite you to see what the library has to offer. It's such a fun place. It's not just about books. We have new library cards, so if you haven't gotten a library card, great time to come out and get one. And you can use that new library card at Mod Pizza, the Troy location this week. They will give you 10% off your order if you show your Troy library card. So come on out and see us and just enjoy the celebration with us. We're so glad to be part of this community. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes certificates of recognition and special presentations. There are no carryover items or public hearings this evening, so we will move to public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses, and I will call upon Avis Landmesser, Troy resident, who wishes to speak on P1E. Good evening, Avis.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be here. My comments tonight are on the Planning Commission's 3/12/19 meeting and the proposed rezoning from multifamily to urban residential for property west of John R., north of Big Beaver, Section 23, BGB Luxury Apartments. Last year, the developer wanted to build 247 apartments on 15 acres of land. This year, he proposes reducing the land size to 11.86 acres while retaining the same number of 247 units. The proposal was unanimously postponed because of several issues raised by the commissioners. It's far too dense, too little green space, 3 stories not compatible to the area. Pedestrian children traffic is already very congested in that area adjacent to the sports center. And the ability of Barnard School to handle the increase in head count. This proposal so reminded one commissioner of the Teesbury Squirrel Lake, Livernois, and Square Lake Barnard development that he decided to visit that development. He was, quote, unpleasantly surprised at what he saw. It was, another quote, a revelation to him that what he had perceived and approved on paper had in reality overwhelmed the intersection, was claustrophobic, and likened the development to rabbit hutches. It's too much on too little land, he said, unless radical changes were made to the John R. Big Beaver proposal. He said he could not vote in favor of the proposal. Another commission member said the proposal before them was more dense than the 43-acre Teesbury Square, again the Barnard corner. And upon revisiting that development, she could not imagine anything more dense than that. But this is going to be more dense than that. Yet another member said, knowing what they now know, perhaps the 4-story apartment building at Town Center, just out here, and Livernois, and the 4-story storage unit on Rochester Road would not have been approved because they are too high and do not fit in well with existing surroundings. She said, I quote, "We want developments, but they need to make sense and they need to be balanced." In light of the negative comments, the developer asked that the proposal be tabled. He can by right build 118 units under the present zoning. And I believe that most of the residents of the area, there was a 400 signature paper in opposition to it, would prefer that the property owner find a usage other than housing, usage that would render a profit but not add 247 plus people. and all of the vehicles. Just let me this last forward a second. I am heartened that the potential clash between the development of high-density cluster homes in or adjacent to single-family neighborhoods is receiving more attention from influential people that can make a difference.
Avis.
Hopefully, they will become more conservative in granting what is often perceived as almost carte blanche approval to a developer.
Thank you,
for
Avis.
indulging me. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see that anyone has signed up further to speak public comment for items on the agenda, but I see State Representative Padma Kupa is here and signed up to speak for public comment on items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. So if I could get consensus from council, I'd like to waive the rules and allow State Representative Padma Kupa to speak at this portion rather than have to wait for the entire council meeting if she chooses. You're going to wait? Okay, thank you. That concludes those that have signed up for public comment on items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Anyone on council or city staff wish to respond? Ms. Landmaster, the only thing that I would like to comment is that there's a reason why all of these projects get vetted through the Planning Commission. Issues come up that so the Planning Commission asks to have revisited before it ever gets to this process here. So I'm going to wait to see what happens through the Planning Commission before I make any comments. So thank you. There are no postponed items this evening, so we will move to regular business. I-1A, our mayoral appointments. I would like to make some appointments this evening. First, I would like to appoint Rami Sweden for the unexpired term for the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for 4/30/2020. And I would also like to appoint Carolina Noguz Ortez. Is that close? Also to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the term that expires 4/30/2020. Support. Moved by the chair and supported by Councilman Henderson that we appoint Rami Sweden and Carolina, can I just say Ortez so I don't butcher it again, to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the terms that expires 4/30/2020. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes. Thank you to those residents that have signed up to serve on that important committee. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the community. That concludes the appointments under I-1A. I-1B, our city council appointments, and I will defer to City Councilman Henderson to step in for Mayor Pro Tem Baker with city council appointments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the Troy City Council hereby appoints the following nominated persons to serve on the boards and committees as indicated. For the Historic District Commission, W. Kent Voigt for a term expiring March 1st, 2022.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Henderson and supported by Councilman Pennington that we appoint W. Kent Voigt to the Historic District Commission for the term that expires 3/1/2022. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you to Mr. Voigt for volunteering to be on that commission.
And I probably could have combined these, but I'd also like to move that the City Council appoints for the Zoning Board of Appeals, Michael Bosenbrook for a term expiring April 30th, 2020, Aaron Green for a term expiring January 31st, 2021, and Thomas Desmond for a term expiring April 30th, 2021.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Henderson, supported by Councilman Hamilton, that we appoint Michael Bozenbrook to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the term that expires 4/30/2020, Aaron Green to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the term that expires 1/31/2021, and Thomas Desmond to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the term that expires 4/30/2021. Discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you to Mr. Bozenbrook, Mr. Green, and Mr. Desmond for volunteering for that important committee. That concludes appointments this evening. We will move to I-2 with our board and committee nominations. I would like to make several nominations this evening. First, James Hatch to the Board of Review for the term that expires 1/31/2022. Stephen Gottlieb to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for the term that expires 4/30/2022. And Anthony Rosenblum to the Volunteer Firefighter Incentive Plan Board as the citizen rep for the term that expires 4/30/2022.
Support.
Moved by the chair and supported by Councilman Henderson that we nominate those that were read into the record this evening for those boards and committees. Any discussion? The vote, Ms. Dixon.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thanks to those citizens that have agreed to be reappointed to those important committees. There are no city council nominations this evening, so we will move forward. I-3, there is no request for a closed session this evening. Next is the consent agenda. Anyone wish to pull a consent agenda item this evening? Councilman Henderson.
I'd like to move all items on a consent agenda as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Henderson, supported by Councilwoman Abraham, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as presented this evening and printed in the agenda packet. Discussion, Councilwoman Hoderick.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to draw everyone's attention to one of the items on the consent agenda, item J03B. It's the proposed resolution that will be at our next meeting, but it's relevant and pertains to this week. It's a proclamation regarding the National Work Zone Awareness Week. And you know, this is very, very critical. We've had, there was a recent incident here in Troy where someone was very badly injured just a few days ago near a work zone. You know, I think we can all see that, you know, with construction season coming, the orange barrels are going to be more prolific than dandelions, and they're necessary. The work is critical. It should be a happy thing to be stuck in construction traffic because these roads and our infrastructure need this work. We need to honor and be very careful with one another on the roads, look for pedestrians, really look for the workers in these work zones. Road work is a hazardous occupation with 10 to 15% of work zone fatalities being workers, and 85 to 90% of fatalities in work zone crashes being drivers and passengers. So this is pretty serious, and we'll have it on the next agenda. We always have essentially a draft on the consent agenda, and that's presented at the next meeting. But the barrels are out. Let's have this conversation maybe numerous times from the table here to really be aware and watchful for the safety of of these heroes that are doing the work out there as we're all doing 65 trying to get by them and get to work as we make our way through. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments regarding the consent agenda? The vote, Ms. Dixon?
Councilmember Pennington,
Yes.
Mayor Slater,
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham,
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Yes.
Motion passes. If you were here on a consent agenda item this evening, they've all been approved. Next on the agenda are memorandums and future council agenda items. K1A is an announcement of a public hearing for April 22nd, 2019, which is a conditional rezoning application, file number CRJPLN 2018-005. The proposed Long Lake Square townhouses on the south side of Long Lake, west of Livernois, 121 West Long Lake, parcels 8820-16-200-007 and 008. Section 16 from R1B, One Family Residential District, to NNM, which is Neighborhood Node M District. So that will be in front of this council next meeting on April 22nd. Now, public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses, and I'll call upon State Representative Padma Kupa, who wishes to speak this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and our great staff. Especially, I'd like to give a shout out to our city attorney who helped me as I started this role and said that she would be available if I had any questions on some of the policy that comes before us. I am formally on your agenda for May, I believe, but I wanted to come tonight because we are back in session starting this week. We just finished our spring break. And I just want to give you sort of an overview, so hopefully you can waive my 3 minutes. But I've been assigned to the Energy Committee and the Local Government and Municipal Finance Committee. As a member of the Minority Caucus, I don't get as many assignments, which is probably good because I'm learning my way around Lansing. I have been maintaining office hours, had a town hall, have more town halls planned, and actually have office hours coming up this Saturday at Blair Memorial Library. I alternate between Blair Memorial Library and Clawson and Troy Public Library. I do have on my website ways for people to respond to sign up for e-news, as well as to respond to the budget proposal from the governor. There will be more variations of that budget as we go through the long-drawn budget process. I'm sure you all go through it here. So, I mean, this is at the state level. We will be doing the same thing. We've been responding to hundreds of constituent concerns received either via email or phone. I've had hundreds of meetings with various advocacy groups and lobbyists that come forward. And one of them was actually early on about a bill that then Governor Snyder vetoed. And I brought it before our city attorney. It is brought forth by Representative John Riley of Oxford. And I would like you to take note of this number, 4095. It has to do with land use, zoning, and growth management, and the definition of a state-licensed residential facility. And they would like to increase the number of children receiving care at rural 20-acre parcels of land, these child-caring institutions. So these are basically group foster homes for up to 6 children, which is what is legally allowed by ordinance today on a 20-acre parcel. They want to increase it to 10. And by doing so, they have not gone before the local zoning board, and they are circumventing local zoning authority. There is a need for additional beds, but I caution, and many of us on the Democratic caucus, we're 5 versus 7. The 5 of us voted against approval of that. It has made it out of the local government committee to eventually be voted on at the state, in the chambers of the House. Please, if you have friends, if you have council members that you talk to across the state, please let them know that this is not a good idea, because preempts local zoning, and it could have unintended consequences for all of us across the state. There are needs. I'm not denying that foster care is a need, but it is better that they go to the local facility, to the local zoning board, and get that increase for that particular facility. That was one issue that we voted along party lines. I'm happy to tell you that the one thing that I have passed so far was voted unanimously. It was on March 21st. I had a resolution for World Water Day. March 22nd is World Water Day. The United Nations proclaimed it, and then we made it also World Water Day in Michigan. And we will not pollute our Great Lakes, we will not deplete our Great Lakes or our water supply, so that we have clean and safe drinking water for everyone in the state of Michigan. And while that's not binding, I have introduced a couple of bills. So I learned a new term. It's called an orphan bill. It means that it is a piece of legislation that somebody may have proposed that did not get passed during a prior term, and so it doesn't have a champion anymore. Martin Harrelak was a champion for Justice for Allie. I, too, am a champion for Justice for Allie. Allie is a graduate of Athens High School, child of a young adult who was coerced online into providing sexually explicit content. We are closing a loophole if we pass House Bill 4076. I have my hearing request this coming week. Both of my colleagues across both Republican and Democratic colleagues have co-sponsored the resolution, and my hearing request as well. In fact, two police officers, former police officers who are my colleagues, have both signed on to the request for a hearing. Now it will go through the hearing. If it gets a hearing, then it will go through the process and then get voted on. So I'm holding, fingers crossed that we can prevent abuse, as we talked about earlier today. The other bill that I introduced and have yet to see where it's going to go next is to honor civil rights hero Fred Korematsu. Fred Korematsu was a Japanese-American who was interned in World War II and tried to fight it, and then they overturned that decision actually in 2017. During his lifetime, they did realize the wrong that they had done him, and they awarded him a Presidential Medal of Honor. He met his wife in Michigan and lived here for a few years, so we would like to honor January 30th as Fred Korematsu Day. And the last thing I will tell you is that in your Troy Times, you might have seen this. Hopefully you paid attention and didn't throw away your inserts, but there is an insert that has a lot of information about what I'm doing, as well as who my staff are, how to contact me, where to sign up, what coffee hours I have, and also who to call when your federal taxes are high. So anyway, that is my quick report today, but please look out for House Bill 4095 and please advocate on it. Both the Michigan Municipal League and the Michigan Township Association have come forward and said that they are against it, and all their stakeholders have written letters to members of the House chambers for that, as well as the governor, Governor Whitmer, has also said that she is neutral on it. And so I think we need to be cautious before we want local control. And that is sort of the mantra that both City Manager Miller and both lawyers for City of Troy and City of Clawson have cautioned me as I take these bills that come my way. So I'm championing local control because I understand there are things that we can solve locally that don't deserve a state mandate on this. And while it may not affect us because we're not a rural area, it has unintended consequences if we pass this bill. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. When you come back in May, that's an opportunity to go back and forth. The way that it is here,
okay,
it's an opportunity to speak, and then we can say some stuff afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes those that have signed up to speak on public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. Any comments from council or staff? City Attorney Bloom?
I just wanted to reach out and to thank Representative Kupa because, again, it is really nice to have a voice and to have an ability to talk with her about some of the bills that are concerning to the city of Troy. So I wanted to thank her for that.
Absolutely. Local control.
Mayor.
I like to hear that. Councilwoman Hoderick.
As the budget discussions have gone on, one of the things I think all of us have advocated for here has been the state shared revenue and the return to the local municipalities. And I just want to assure anybody watching and wondering that Representative Kupa gets that, understands it, has heard it, and has conveyed it even to the governor's office, how that's important. The education funding, the roads funding, but don't forget our local municipalities. And that's a conversation we've had here many times. So appreciate that, that you're advocating for that as well.
Thank you. Any comments? There are no council referrals this evening, so we'll move to council comments. Any comments from council this evening? Councilman Pennington?
Well, I just want to say it's nice to see State Rep Kupa here. It's nice to see the excitement in her voice starting the new job. Looking forward to hearing from you again next month. I just want to make a comment on an ongoing problem here, not just Michigan, but nationwide, and it's with the measles outbreak. My daughter is a nurse and my son-in-law is a doctor, and in both of their hospitals, they've seen cases of the measles, which when we were kids, that was unheard of. I mean, it was eradicated, almost eradicated years ago. And I made a similar comment about 5-6 years ago when I came on council, but parents need to vaccinate their children. There are a group of parents out there that do not think that, it's misinformation in social media that vaccinations could cause autism, and that is not the case. I've read about it, and my son-in-law has talked about it many times, and it's one of those, just a social media, disinformation, platform that, and a lot of parents younger parents, and they just need to know that they, talk to your doctor and get your kids vaccinated. It's very important. It's not fair to the children that cannot get their vaccinations because you put them at risk by not vaccinating your healthy child.
Thank you. Any other, Councilman Hamilton?
I agree with you completely, Councilman Pennington, but we just got our proposed budget for the year today, just before this meeting, and this Thursday at 6 p.m. in the council boardroom and next Monday at 6 p.m. in the council boardroom, we'll be having our budget study sessions for the year. So I encourage city residents to show up, email us, let us know your priorities for the year. One of the most important things we do for the year is set the budget. So just letting you know that's coming up.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hoderick.
A little bit related to that, and because I wasn't at the last meeting and study session due to some priorities outside of here that I had to attend to, I wanted to just take a minute to applaud the City Council and staff for that study session about the resident and business survey that we're working on diligently here. And I did watch it and debrief it and took it in, and I just wanted to, if I had been there, one of the things I would have been pounding the table about is making sure that we get a sense from our residents. We have a priority that we wrangle with that I don't know how much our residents understand is before us. The City of Troy utilizes a really conservative financial approach. Mr. Darling can correct me if I misspeak on this.
Please proceed.
See how well trained we are here. That's enabled by a 3-year rolling budget and a 5-year outlook. This is a practice that the county has and that the city has, and it really, really helps us be very conservative with our tax dollars, essentially, and plan really, really well for the city. One of our assets, our great assets, is our AAA bond rating. And protecting that AAA bond rating has been a priority for city administration and city councils, and was, frankly, something I campaigned on and had a lot of support, heard support for that when I knocked doors when I ran for council. bond ratings analyst advised City Council at a special study session we had when I was very first elected, so this could be 6 years ago now, that due to the city's operating millage cap, the millage cap that we have in our charter that we voted in as residents, that using fund balance to support one-time needs, such as road improvement, is an accepted practice by bond ratings analysts. But if we use funds for ongoing year after year operations, such as the library, that could put the city's AAA bond rating at risk. There's no guarantees. It's a little bit of a crystal ball that you're trying to look in and manage. So I heard the mayor at the study session mention the AAA bond rating. I guess I want to take the opportunity, and there's probably people like, there she goes again talking about the bond rating, but it is just something that we really have to, we have a fiduciary responsibility to protect it and understand it. And I know residents, sometimes their eyes glaze over when we talk about it. That can't be, because residents will be voting and helping us determine our major financial decisions and budget decisions. So we need everyone to understand that. So my input that I gave back in writing was, could we gauge maybe, is this important to our residents? Do they understand it? Some sort of questioning that I'm sure the survey folks would be able to take a look at. But I'd just like to encourage residents as we do these study sessions and we have these conversations, if you're engaged, if you have strong opinions, help us by really learning that's something we really wrangle with, and it makes the job dicier. And we need everybody locking arms mentally on this so that we get it right. Mr. Darling, did I get it? Am I close? Thank you. Thank you. Finances are not my strength, so here I am, teaching on something that I don't necessarily, that is not my wheelhouse, but it has had to become my wheelhouse. It needs to be in everyone's wheelhouse, is my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Abraham.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to remind folks that this Wednesday, the Troy People Concerned are going to have their pasta dinner, 5 to 8 p.m. Wednesday night at the San Marino Club. Tickets are $20 for adults, $5 for children under the age of 10. And for those that don't know about this fantastic organization that's been part of our city for decades, it's a nonprofit service that helps residents who find themselves in financial trouble, maybe due to medical condition or job loss, and help them get back on their feet and make assistance, whether it's helping them pay bills or just helping them navigate through some rough times and making sure their kids are well tended to, have food on the table, etc. It's a fantastic dinner, great meal, and a great turnout. It's a wonderful night. Part of that evening will be a silent auction. They'll have caricatures, face painting for the kids, cash bar for the adults, and they will have a 50-50 raffle. And if you choose to bring in a non-perishable food item, you can get one free raffle ticket for that 50-50 raffle. So I encourage all those to attend. One less night of making dinner for the family. Just go out to the San Marino Club this Wednesday between 5 and 8. You will not regret it.
Very good. It's great spaghetti, too.
It's a good meal.
Good meal. Any comments by council? I just want to make a quick comment. This Wednesday, I've been invited to participate in a mayor's forum panel, the 16th annual Images and Perceptions Diversity Conference. It's going to be in Dearborn, and I have the honor of being invited along with Mayor of Flint, the Mayor of Dearborn, the Mayor of Dearborn Heights, City of Hamtramck, and I think it's an example of Troy is now being recognized for its diversity, and I'm honored to be asked to go participate in a panel discussion. Our friend Roop Raj is going to be the MC, and it should be a good time, and if anyone wants to reach out and participate and be part of this conference, I think it's a good thing for Troy. So I look forward to that. Next on the agenda are Councilman Pennington.
Sorry to interrupt. I just thought of something that I saw over the weekend, and I just wanted to bring it to the light of the citizens. Wonderful woman from the city of Troy passed away last week. Susie Kowalski had battled cancer for quite a while now, and I know the family, and she and her husband were champions for the Nature Center. She's a wonderful woman, and I just want to give my condolences to the family, and she will be missed.
Absolutely. Thank you for recognizing Susie. And there's a bench up at the Nature Society up there at the Nature Center that was paid for by her family that recognizes Susie and her husband. So go up and sit on the bench and remember Susie, because she was a big part of this city. Next, reports. Anyone on council wish to discuss a report in the agenda packet this evening? I don't see that anyone has signed up for comments on items on or not on the agenda from members of the public outside of Troy. There is no closed session request, so thank you for coming this evening. We are adjourned.